Good evening and welcome to Space Oddities. Thank you for being here. Hope you're all well, audience. I can see there are a few of you out there looking at the chat. You're very welcome. Hope you've all had a good week. Joining me tonight, we have a motley band, they being Roger. Hello, Roger. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good, good. Michael, how are you? Yeah, fine. Lou, how are you over there in the States?
5 hours earlier, but doing well.
Good, good, good. Glad to do. Jonathan, welcome back.
A very good evening to you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Rachel, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Fine. And we're delighted to welcome back to Space Oddities Mr. Paul Evans, who's going to be telling us about how Irish Astronomy went. So we're looking forward to hearing about that, as Paul was here a little while ago before the Irish Astronomy Week, telling us what was going to happen. How are you, Paul? You okay? Yeah? Okay. I'm not sure that Paul can hear us at the moment. Can you hear us, Paul? Okay, we'll come back to Paul. He appears to be having sound. These sound problems are catching Lou. They've gone from you to Paul. So
be a vaccine soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, we've got a few things on the program tonight that I want to tell you about. Firstly, we're going to be discussing the sad demise of the Virgin Orbit company this week, which I'm sure you saw in the news. We have we're going to start a new section of the program we're going to experiment with, that being a question and answer session, and we'll do that towards the end of the program. So if you have any astronomy or space related questions that you want to ask the panel, please put them in the live chat. If you could do that near the end of the program, I'll tell you when. And you can be thinking of your questions in the meantime, because we'd like to have your questions, and obviously if we can, we'd like to answer them. That goes without saying that we will not be able to answer a lot of the big questions, like, why is the universe here and why is Ed Sheeran so popular? But, apart from that, exactly, Jonathan, some of these questions are literally unanswerable. But apart from that, if you have any questions, I'll tell you when towards the end of the program. You can be thinking of them in the meantime and put them in the comments. We have to say a big thank you, of course, to the people who bought us coffees last week. Very kind of you, and your generosity as ever is absolutely exceptional, and we're all extremely touched by that. And I'll be putting up the Buy Me a Coffee QR code a little bit later for anybody who wants to carry us on buying coffee, because we run out of coffee fairly rapidly on this program, so we need replenishing. But anyway, thank you very much for buying us the coffee. And you have our gratitude, and it does enable us to keep the ship afloat, as it were. Right, well, let's move on. Got a few things to get through this evening. So first of all, I think we'll go over to the man with the mostest, as they call him. He is known as to millions as Mr. Astronomy. He is, of course, Roger Astronomy. So what have we got in the night sky going on, Rog?
Whoa, lots of things, but I'll just talk about these instead.
Okay. As you wish.
Oh, where's that gone? Oh, where's my presentation? It's gone all swirly.
Oh, it looks okay from here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hang on, let me try turning it off and back on again. It looks okay from here.
Okay.
There we are. Can you not see it?
I can see it on the other monitor, so I'll go for that. That's
okay.
Fine. Right, okay, for the 3rd to the 9th of April 2023. So we have got, where has it gone? Right, right, okay. Okay, so we'll be getting a full moon between the nights of Wednesday and Thursday morning. So it's bound to be maybe clear by then still, but looking more hopeful for tonight and tomorrow. So enjoy it while it lasts.
Indeed.
Indeed. So as I couldn't get one of the moon tonight, here's one that you may have seen on the Facebook Oddities group, or one of the many others from last night. And it seems to be going down rather well at the moment on the and I've managed to get some of the mineralization out on the surface. So I'll have another go tonight, as you do.
Am I right in thinking that the bluish colour is titanium?
Yes, and the brownish group is the sort of allocated to the iron ores, or that type of group of ores in that colour. Yes.
Look at all those incredible resources just waiting for us to go and get them there, eh? All those mineral resources.
All those minerals.
We just need a few hortas to help us mine them.
Yes, that's
Yeah. Mine all the cheese.
yes.
Okay, so I just want to point out the fact that Mercury will become more and more visible as it rises up. It will reach its highest point around the 11th, I believe, of this month. So have an opportunity to try and see Mercury and Venus up in the nights in the sky after sundown. So might be a good opportunity, and good luck.
And good luck indeed, because there are many people who are astronomers but who've never seen Mercury. I've only seen it a few times in my life, so go and have a look, see if you can, because if you see Venus there, it should be fairly easy to find. Well, it is very easy to find.
Should be.
Yeah.
You just need a good, clear, low western horizon, really, to have a chance. But the opportunity is there. So
When is the next Mercury transit?
Oh, it's ages yet, isn't it? Hang on, I'll tell you. 1 second.
2032, I think.
Always gets some attention.
2032, you're quite right. On November the 12th, 13th, 2032. There you are.
I saw the last two, actually. I was very lucky with both of them.
Oh, I think I saw the last two as well, actually, if I remember right.
I saw the 2004 Venus transit, but not the 2012. I was clouded out for it. But, and medical miracles aside, I won't be seeing any more.
Oh no, don't say that.
21, 27 or something like that.
You're a bundle of light today, Paul.
I'll accept I'm not going to make it to 21, 27. Just
Well, I actually got a photo of the 2004 transit by projecting the image. It's not a brilliant photo because I was trying to hold a piece of paper and take a photo at the same time. But anyway, we won't talk of such things. Anyway, Roger, please carry on.
Oh, thank you very much. Right, so obviously now that the winter constellations are now heading down towards the western horizon, we've got the two great galaxy clusters of Virgo and Leo still to entertain the telescopes if you like to do galaxies and all that. And obviously with later on in the night, we'll be getting some of the summer constellations and also the Milky Way coming up through, with the central core becoming more visible. But that's currently about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's getting a wee bit early still. Another month or two, I would give it a chance to have a chance to see it during the nighttime appearance of the Milky Way, but we're getting there. It's coming along.
Yep, indeed, we're getting there.
And as I go through the week's slides, you can see that Mercury is gradually increasing its altitude from the horizon for that opportunity to be able to see it. And let's see if we try and see if we can get that opportunity. I suppose it will be mostly about an 87% or so the phase of Mercury when if you do manage to capture a disk, something around. So it would be an interesting project, shall we say.
Indeed.
Okay, so that's all I can present, as there have no new James Webb imaging for this week.
Right, okay, thank you very much. As always, Roger. Much appreciated.
I'd just like to welcome Heidi from Florida, who's on Moon Hour. and
Oh, right.
I got a mug.
Oh, fantastic.
So
That's
for
nice.
all my crazy mad daily goings on, posting pictures of the moon, I get my just rewards for being so good.
Oh, well done. Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Yes.
Okay, then. Thank you very much, Roger. So let's move over to Paul. You're welcome back to Space Oddities, Paul. Nice to see you.
Hello, nice to be here.
And how did Irish Astronomy Week go then?
Well, by and large, it went extremely well indeed. Now, this all started. I'll just give a bit of background that this all started because my friend Ronan Newman, who's out in County Mayo, he's been a keen astronomer in Ireland for a long time, and he's wanted for a long time to do Irish Astronomy Week, and I think it sort of never happened in the past because there was never a real right time to do it. But then we sort of decided that actually the coming out of COVID was exactly the right time to do it, and so it turned out to be, because all the clubs, there's about sort of 16, 17 clubs involved here in Ireland that all stepped up to the mark. We set an ambitious target, it was Ronan's target, not mine, but he set an ambitious target of to do 100 events across Ireland. And actually, I think we just got past that. We actually did more than 100 events in the course of 7 days, and it's very unfortunate, I'm afraid, that Ronan suffered a bereavement of a very close person, a week before, and had to cancel out of his events. And myself and a lady called Sinead Mannion, who's in Connemara Astronomy Club, we sort of picked up the pieces, but we'd done most of the work and we made sure it all happened, right. And which it did, and it was great. My start, I went down to Dublin, to Phoenix Park, and I was just in the audience. I wasn't doing anything, but a good friend of mine, a renowned Irish astronomer called John Flannery, did a talk in the Phoenix Park Visitors Centre. Which was extremely well received. It was just a lot of this was kind of broad, basic stuff for newcomers to the hobby, and just saying what and his was concentrating on what you can see with your two eyes,
right?
Which was which is an amazing amount when you look at it. John presents that really well. I kicked off my week on the Monday, and I'll tell you a story about this because it's quite fun. I did a talk, an introduction to astronomy, in Ballymena Central Library, which is just about 20 miles from where I live, in North Antrim, and it was great. I had about 20 people all set up in the audience. I'd set up my own kit, and it was all very nicely done and everything. And I had a range of ages, but mostly towards the higher end. And who'd just come along because they're interested in a bit of astronomy. Nobody there really was an expert,
Right.
They were just ordinary people and I took them through the sort of the general tour of the solar system, and then showed them a few photos I've taken of things that they can see, and given some guidance on starting with binoculars and telescopes and all that sort of thing, but just very basic stuff.
Yeah.
And I got some great questions from the audience as well. And I thought they have been actually listening and paying attention, which is always a good thing to get. And then this thing happened. This guy stood up. He says, "There's something I want to discuss with you." I go, "Oh yeah, okay." He says, "I've seen a film that proved that men never went to the moon."
Oh no! Just what you want.
I said, "Go on, tell me what convinced you about it then." What? He said, "Well, particularly," he said, there was the fact that when they came out of the lunar module, their spacesuits would inflate and they couldn't possibly have got back in. I said, "Well, okay." They dealt with that one because that did happen. Yeah. It happened to Alexei Leonov in 1965 when he did the first spacewalk, and he went outside, and actually, yes, his spacesuit did inflate. And with great presence of mind and great bravery, he sort of said, "Well, in that case, I'll just have to let some air out then, won't I? You know, in the vacuum space."
Pragmatic as all it was.
That's right. Yeah, it's and then it shrunk back down, and he got back in before it ran out so much that he had no air. But and then so they knew that one. They worked at that one, and he still wasn't happy. This guy. So I sort of said, "Well, look." Neil Armstrong, shortly after he walked on the moon, and I think he did a speaking tour, and somebody hit him with exactly that, question. Well, didn't you just fake this? It's and rather than adopt the Buzz Aldrin approach, which seems reasonable as well, but he sort of said, "Well, okay." He said, "Well, we did think of doing that. It did cross our minds." But then we took the view that, well, we've got to actually build and launch all the rockets. And this guy's going, yeah, because there's too many witnesses to that. You couldn't just put that on television and say it happened in Florida and there were loads of people there and they didn't see a thing. How would that work? So they did have to build and launch the rockets. He said, then there was the problem that there were 400,000 people working on the project, all of whom would have to be sworn to secrecy for the rest of their lives, even though newspapers would pay them handsomely for spilling the beans. And as if that wasn't enough, the Russians were watching them like hawks, waiting for any opportunity to cry foul.
Yes.
And he said, so in the end, we just concluded it was easier to send 3 men to the moon. And this guy wasn't happy with that, but everybody else in the audience, I think, was. So so that was my day one. That I thought, oh no, I hope it goes better than this.
But I mean, they're out there still in quite large numbers, depressingly large numbers, unfortunately.
Well, it's fantastic now that they invent new theories as well.
Oh yeah.
Birds don't exist anymore. They're all special drones now.
No, that one. I tell you, that one was a guy who did that to demonstrate how gullible people were.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
He thought if you painted that on all that nonsense about birds having been replaced by government drones, he thought if I put that on my van, nobody will believe it. But he miscalculated, and people believed him. And now there's quite a conspiracy movement growing up around the conspiracy theory that birds don't exist. They're all government drones.
That's right, yes. And the ISS, that doesn't exist either.
Yeah, that's right. Steve pointed out something that the Lovell telescope at Jodrell Bank tracked the Apollo 11, at least, all the way down to the surface. Yeah. Well, we know that, but you try and convince, our conspiracy theory friends of that, right. Because they don't recognize that. They don't recognize facts. They think everything's a conspiracy, everything's lies. So you won't get very far with that argument, unfortunately.
And the other thing that amuses me as well, that none of our sort of ground-based telescopes, and not even the Hubble, can actually resolve enough at 240,000 miles to actually see, the landers and the footprints. However, they put a satellite in lunar orbit, and there's the pictures. That's the tracks of the lunar rovers and the base of the spacecraft and all that sort of. But of course, those pictures are faked too, aren't they?
Yeah, so I've had that argument.
You can't win this one.
That's all CGI. It's all fake. No. Anyway, getting back to Irish
Astronomy. So day 2 for me was I went down to Armagh Observatory and Planetarium, as it's now called, because that's two what used to be 2 separate bodies. One an education institution, the other a research institution, with about 300 years difference in age between them. They're now merged under a separate single organization called Armagh Observatory and Planetarium, and that was that was done by a gentleman called Professor Michael Burton, who did a fantastic job of it, and they amazingly they all work together now, and they never used to. It's one of those things that so it was a great honor to talk in their dome. Let's see if can I share just my pictures of this?
If you share your screen.
If I do, it's not a Chrome tab I want. It's not. I'm not getting the bit I want here, but
you're trying to share your screen, yes.
If I go and put my screen as that, And then I come back to this, and yeah, okay. So I'm now going to share my. This is my. Now are you seeing that? That's my fast burn image. Are you getting it?
No.
If I open a picture, you getting the picture?
Oh, hang on. Yes, I've got it now. Hang on. There we are. There we are.
So that's there. That's me. That's me doing my talk about astrophotography for beginners in the dome at Armagh. There's another angle on it, and it's quite a surreal sort of an unusual place to do a talk. I tell you,
isn't it?
And it's a fantastic venue. During COVID they refurbished the whole thing with the latest gear and all that sort of thing. And I don't understand it, and I work in technology, you know.
But there's technology, and then there's technology, isn't there?
I know this is brilliant. It really what's out of this world here is the projection system. It's nothing like you've ever seen before.
Wow.
So that's that was just some pictures from that. So I'll just stop sharing that bit and come back to you. And so I'm back here now. So that went really well. I've got loads of really good questions. I had about 30 people in the audience, something like that, which wasn't bad for a Tuesday afternoon.
That's pretty good.
So that was looking pretty good. I then did 2 more Zoom talks. And the other one of which was this same evening. I came home and got online with my local camera club, Larne Camera Club, and myself and my friend Alistair Hamill, who you may have heard of in the aurora photography side of things. He's a real expert at aurora photography. He and I jointly just did an evening of how to photograph the aurora, because actually here in Ballygally, where I live, that's the thing. It really does. And actually I can show you, just because during that week I did get an aurora. Let me have a look. This was on the Thursday, the Thursday night, the 23rd. Now, are you getting that?
Not so far.
No, I have to go back and do this again here, don't I? Have to. If I just select the entire screen and go share that. Does that make any difference? Does that work for you?
Can't see it yet. Had it before.
Yeah, it's now what will I do? I'm going to do the entire screen share. No, it won't let me share that. Window. Here we are. Window. That one. Let me try that.
Oh, that got it. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So that's just me down at the beach with a little 1-inch sensored compact camera, and I just sat on the table and waited for it to happen. I got very, very lucky, actually.
You did, didn't you?
I did. I'll tell you why as well, because now a friend of mine from work told me the following day that she'd come out to Ballygally and didn't see it. And I sort of said, well, when did you go? And she says, oh, we went home about 10 o'clock. And I said, oh, well, I watched The Apprentice final. Then I went down after that. And about 25 past 10 was when it all started kicking off. So she's not happy, Bunny.
Sorry, Paul. Good evening, everyone. How long was the exposure time on these?
10 seconds. What I just usually do is 10 seconds, f1.4, ISO 1600 or 800, depending on what I can get away with. But this is a 4-shot panoramic.
Paul seems to have left us. Oh, that's strange.
Oh dear.
Oh, well, let's hope he can get back in. Hang on. I think he's already trying to get back in. Hang on. Right, let's try. Right. Let's see whether he comes back. Okay. Well, we're just, while we're waiting for Paul to reappear, we'll move on. Just a couple of things in the news this week that I found quite interesting. So I'm just going to show you this. This is to do with the Canadian CHIME telescope. This is a telescope in Canada that's basically going to map the history of hydrogen in the universe. And it's also to do with the amazingly wonderful LIGO gravitational wave detector in America. And these have come up with quite an amazing story. Let me outline the story to you, because I found this quite amazing. So these plots on this graph, these dots on this graph, are fast radio bursts. Now, these are explosions or releases of intense radio energy all over the universe. They come from every direction. One of them lasts typically a few milliseconds, yet it can release enough energy or more energy than the sun does in a few days. So these are incredibly powerful releases of radiation. And we don't know what causes them, basically. Some of them repeat, some of them go bang once, if you like, and we never see them again. And astronomers have been trying to work out for a number of years exactly what they are. Now, the CHIME telescope has increased their number of detections because it just happens to be sensitive to these so-called fast radio bursts. It's increased the number by nearly 400 that we've seen. And so astronomers are trying to desperately work out what they are. Now, by the same token, another mystery, of course, is or has been gravitational waves. And we've made now over 150 detections of gravitational wave events. But this was something, this is something else again. Now, this was the collision of two neutron stars. Now, the LIGO detector has detected a couple of these, the gravitational waves. When neutron stars collide and merge, they are some of the biggest explosions in the universe. And as well as them being vast explosions, they create heavy elements like gold and platinum, and basically things heavier than iron. But these have been observed through gravitational waves before, so this was not anything new. But what was new was this. Now, on the 25th of April 2019, there was a gravitational wave event detected. On the same day, there was a fast radio burst detected at about the same time. And when they compared where these had occurred on the graph there, the orange areas are the possible locations of the gravitational wave event, and the little blue circle is where the fast radio burst came from, which is indeed inside one of the areas that it's thought the gravitational wave event came from. And the astronomers thought, well, is it a coincidence that these two events on the same day happened in roughly the same area of sky? And when they worked it out, it's virtually impossible that they could have been two unrelated events. So here we had a gravitational wave event, and then a little bit later, in fact 2.5 hours later, a fast radio burst from the same area. And this is what astronomers think happened. So first of all, you had the merger of the two neutron stars, which was gravitational wave event 1904-25. That's the date, of course. What they think happened was that these merging neutron stars didn't have enough mass to merge and collapse into a black hole, but they formed a magnetar, which is an ultra strong magnetic field pulsar. Usually it can be a pulsar, but it's a neutron star with a magnetic field so strong it could pull the keys out of your pocket from as far away as the moon. Also, if you got within 1,000 miles of one of those, the atoms in your bodies would literally fall apart. So they are some of the most dangerous objects in the universe as well. But they do have these incredibly strong magnetic fields. And what they think happened was that the magnetar was spinning in a cloud of debris left over from the explosion, which slowed its rotation down. And when the rotation had slowed down enough, a thing called neutron degeneracy pressure could not support the magnetar anymore, and it collapsed into a black hole. And it was this sudden collapse into a black hole that generated this fast radio burst 2.5 hours later. Now, this is an incredible tale because we've never seen this happen before. It will shed a lot of light on what happens when neutron stars collide, because the only ones so far that we've seen with gravitational waves have resulted in the combined neutron star mass collapsing into a black hole. So, and it will shed a great light on the origin of fast radio bursts as well. So this was quite a momentous event, astronomy-wise, and it may be repeated. Such an event may be repeated or not. We don't know. But at least now we've got a clearer understanding of what happens when neutron stars merge and the cause of fast radio bursts. It had always been suspected that the magnetars were the cause of these fast radio bursts, or at least some of them. One was detected inside our own Milky Way galaxy not so long ago, and it was tracked down to a magnetar. But this is, opening up huge areas of science that we haven't been able to access until now. So this was great news. And this was the galaxy where this event happened. It's galaxy UGC 10667. It happened about 500 million light years away. That's how far this galaxy is. And here's a radio map of the galaxy that had been examined in various radio surveys. But, nothing remarkable about this galaxy until now. But they think this is the galaxy that this whole saga happened in. So, interesting events happening this week with that. And with that, Paul, I think you're back now. So let's.
I can't see myself. There we are. Yes, I can.
There you are, Paul. Welcome back.
Yes.
Right.
Sorry,
Paul, you disappeared there for a few minutes. So
yes, I had to restart my browser window, and I hadn't realised that I'd gone because I could still hear you. But
right.
one of those things, not properly perfected yet, like cars in the 1920s. And, so no, I was just taking you through, wasn't I? The panoramic aurora picture. Let me just see if I can get that back for you here, and I'll just talk you through this a little bit. Can you see that now?
1 second. I will have a look. Yes, let's put that back on the screen. There we are.
Okay, so do you see my pointer, by the way, out of interest? Or?
Let's make this bigger so I can see the pointer.
It's actually a magnifying glass because it would go bigger, but
no, don't see that.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'll just.
Oh, hang on. Yes, it is. Yes, I can see something. Yes.
Roughly through. If you look along the bottom rather than the top,
Yes.
but, along the bottom, you've got sort of the Antrim coast there, and that's you've got headlights on the road there, which goes up the coast, Northern Ireland. This view is this is 4 photos stitched together.
Right.
So it's about 100 degrees wide, which gives you an idea of how big the auroral oval actually was. There, it was faint and diffuse but big, and actually about 30 degrees high or so as well. You can see if you follow the bottom along, you see a whole dark area, and that to me is northish, and that is the bit between Northern Ireland and Scotland.
Oh yeah.
And then you see the red beacon. The next night you come to is a red beacon on top of a mountain there, and that is pretty much north, and that is on the top of the Mull of Kintyre in Scotland.
Right. Wow.
And then you go further and further along, and to the bottom right, believe it or not, 80 miles away, that's the light pollution of Glasgow.
Is it really? My
Yeah.
goodness me.
Nothing else it can be. There's nothing in between.
That's a well-lit city, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It is. When you get to this sort of latitude, actually, the moisture in the air is so much that it does light up.
Yeah.
But yes, I can see the lights of Glasgow across that water, which is a long way. But
there
we are. So there's
That's
a few.
a lovely photo, Paul. It's really nice.
It's okay, actually. Yeah, it's not. I think I'm hoping for sort of better as this cycle goes on. But solar cycle 25 is already nearly where the prediction was for the top of it to be, and we've got 2 or 3 years to go yet.
I was reading that. So astronomers are scratching their heads a bit because it's all happened a bit prematurely.
Yes, indeed. Now the only thing we've got to be careful about, and it nearly happened about 2 weeks ago. There was a flare, which fortunately was on the other side of the sun, so it didn't really affect us very much. But it was of such a strength that had it hit us directly, you can say goodbye to satellite TV, Sky, your power grids, that kind of thing. It's because there really is great potential now to a Carrington event as of September 1859, which at that time caused auroras in the Caribbean and telegraph operators to get electric shocks in America by current induced in the wires. That would do a lot of damage now.
Yes, absolutely.
because we'd probably lose a lot of satellites, which would take a long time and a lot of money to replace. And power grids have been known to just cut out. In fact, as recently as 1989, a power grid cut out during a solar flare in Canada.
Yes.
And power grids are of the nature that if you lose one bit, then another bit tries to take on the load, so you lose that too. So.
Sure. Yeah.
But so it could all be unamusing. It's nice to see these lights, but actually, if we get hit too hard, it can start to get problematic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a lovely image, Paul. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I did about Irish Astronomy Week, I went to Cosmos.
Oh yes.
Astronomy Club's Star Festival, and they've moved it to a different location because I'm not sure of the exact real reason, but one of the things, it used to be in a very nice hotel in Athlone, which is coincidentally my mother's hometown, and they've sort of stuck the arm in, is the local expression here. The prices have just rocketed. And so we had it, the guys from Midlands Astronomy Club, they organised it in a gun club, a shooting club, sort of in the middle of the country, near Tullamore, which is about sort of 30 or 40 miles away from Athlone. And can you think of one thing that could possibly go wrong if you have a day of talks in a shooting club? A bit of gunfire going on. It was actually not too obtrusive, but they were there as well as us, and I think there was some mess up where two people thought they'd booked the room, but they got that sorted out, and it was great. It was different from being in the hotel, and it's actually a much more sort of rustic kind of thing, just having this room. But actually, it was great. I'm not sure if they'll do it there next year. They might try another venue next year, but it'll happen. And also, one of the things that we have decided, we haven't decided how to do it yet, but we will be doing Irish Astronomy Week 2024 at some stage.
Brilliant! I'm glad to hear it.
So I think it's going to be a thing. Yeah.
Did you get the press coverage in Ireland to support?
No. That's one area where we did stuff up. Really, we kind of we got someone to write a press release, and the minute I saw it, I said no one's going to read that, because it was like the full War of the Worlds version. It wasn't that bad, but it was kind of I mean, I don't work with in news, but I work closely with journalists because I supply I make their programs work.
Yeah.
In short, and I just sort of have this idea that an editor, wants to see one paragraph telling him what it is, and we never really quite got that. So we didn't get quite the sort of press coverage we'd hoped. It was okay, but it was just not. I sort of was preparing my best points of view voice, and that is a fact. I did used to read letters on points of view, because
did you really?
Because they made it in Belfast, and they wanted someone with a non-Northern Irish accent to do some reading for them.
Yeah.
so for 7 years, I was the voice of national television for a couple of minutes every Sunday.
Wow. We're honoured to have such a famous voice with us.
But then they moved it all to Scotland, and now all the voices are in Scottish. So
there we are. Anyway, thanks for letting us know that it all went well, Paul.
It was good. It was brilliant, and I'll keep you
to talking to you again about next year's, obviously.
Absolutely, I'm amazed you haven't mentioned Artemis, Andy.
Well, we're going to.
Oh, good, excellent. I was just checking.
that's very much on the agenda for this evening.
Brilliant. All right.
So, as you can probably tell by the image behind me, we are going to be mentioning that a little later.
Brilliant, because that's historic, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. And we may as well talk about it now, actually. Before we do, though, I just want to ask Lou something. Lou was with us sort of last week. Lou had sound problems which prevented him from talking last week. But
which was a blessing for some, and not for everyone.
Not for everyone, no. Something I wanted to pick up on, which is a viewer's question from last week. We were discussing Europa last week, as you may remember. And one of the viewers asked, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was. So if you're watching and you say, it was me, I do apologize. But they were asking the question, we were looking at the sheets of ice moving past each other on the surface of Europa. And one viewer asked, how fast does that happen? And we assume that it happens very slowly, but we didn't know. We wonder whether you had any input into answering that question.
I don't think we know. I mean, I feel like you can construct, models for this. But remember that we do have some Galileo data.
Yes.
We have some Voyager data, which was a fairly quick flyby. But I imagine it's quite a slow process. And it was, in fact, one of two pieces of evidence that told us that there was a saline ocean underneath the ice caps, the other being the tweaking of the signals into the magnetometer, indicating that current was being communicated down underneath the ice sheet. But I suspect it's a quite slow process, but I don't have any data on that. I wonder, Bernard, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I don't have any data on it, but from what I read in the past, yeah, I mean the idea that these sheets move rapidly is not something that people have in mind. It's there's a lot of heat, of course, within Europa, but there's not enough for that convection of heat to really, shift things at a high speed. So moving slowly is generally what is expected. However, as you mentioned, we just don't have enough substantial data to so
really,
AO Clipper.
Yeah, we can't really resolve that with adaptive optics or Hubble or even
no
JWST.
That's right. That's right.
Clippers is the way to go with that.
Yeah. So, yes, indeed. Well, perhaps we'll find out soon. Soon, as in relatively soon. Of course, it's going to be years until the two spacecraft get there. But at least they're going. That's the main thing. JUICE and the Europa Clipper. JUICE is due for launch this month, is it not? I believe, Bernard.
Due to launch in 11
days,
if
yes.
I recall, something like that, on the 14th of April. However, I haven't checked recently, so I'm not quite sure if that's still
okay.
accurate.
We'll check that and get back to you. We will be covering it live here on Space Oddities, of course, because it's an important mission to cover. So we will be covering the launch of the Jupiter Icy Moon Explorer in a couple of weeks. Talking of launches. Looks like SpaceX may be making their first orbital launch attempt with the Starship on either April the 10th or April the 11th, so quite soon. This is because NASA are going to monitor the flight of the Starship atop the Falcon Super Heavy booster from a high-flying spotter plane, and that has been booked out for the 10th and the 11th of April. So people are saying that's when the flight's going to happen. On the other hand, people are also saying that SpaceX are not going to receive their license for the launch from the FAA before the 14th. So make of that what you will. However, again, whenever it happens, we will be covering it live here on Space Oddities, because that is a very important flight, because if it works, if Starship does get into orbit on the first attempt, or even the second or third attempt, it will revolutionize the exploration of the solar system, and that's no exaggeration. So there we are. But we had, in terms of spaceflight, we had some sad news, obviously, this week with the demise of Virgin Orbit. And Virgin had put their staff on furlough, but now they are laying off 85% of their staff, and it's a sad week. The reason why Virgin failed, they've been having real problems getting funding for their mission to launch satellites from the Launcher 1 rocket you can see there, slung under the wing of a modified 747 called Cosmic Girl. And they've been having great trouble attracting investors for this. And in fact, the figures speak for themselves, that they set a revenue target for 2026 of 2.1 billion. the cost of each launcher one is 12 million, and this necessitated them flying 175 times per year just to reach their revenue target. And investors had great doubts that they could do this, and turned away. Basically, 175 flights a year was going to be impossible, and they are competing with companies like SpaceX. And recently, SpaceX completed 2 launches in 5 hours. So the writing was on the wall for Virgin. Anybody got any thoughts about this?
Yeah, from my point of view, it was sort of public perception of what had happened. I mean, it was the first launch from UK soil, and I think all the eyes and all the attention were very much on what was happening there. And although I mean, we were chatting about this in before, is that how the public sort of saw this and thought to myself, oh dear, that's not very good, is it? That's not a very good start. It's probably the worst possible start that you could have with regards to putting it out to the media, that we've got this has happened now. And with all the other launch sites around the UK, there was a lot being piled on the shoulders of this launch going to plan and going well. But I think there are other things to consider. But from a general point of view, without it being fully explained as to what happened around the circumstances, then it's just going to appear to a lot of people that it was, it's a big foul up, and sort of with it comes a sort of distrust about the possibility of we ever getting any decent space launches from UK soil underway.
But on the other hand, Spaceport Cornwall put out, I don't know whether you saw it, they put out a statement basically saying this is a setback, but it's nothing important and we'll carry on and we've got great plans, because there are a number of companies involved in flying from Britain, not just Virgin Orbit. In fact, that Canadian company they're testing a revolutionary new hypersonic space plane out of Cornwall. They've already moved it to Cornwall for testing, so they're doing that at the moment. So there are a number of people who are interested in flying, not just from Cornwall, but for Saxavord in Shetland and the other spaceports that are being constructed in the UK. So this thing is a setback, but it's by no means a bad thing. And of course, it was announced this week that the UK space industry is now adding an extra $1 billion to government revenues. That's it increased its output, if you like, now employing 48,000 people throughout the UK. So the British government is to be congratulated. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, but I am saying it. The British government is to be congratulated on funding the UK Space Agency, and having this plan to build not just the spaceports, but the technology and educational clusters around them, as there is at Cornwall. And somebody in government at least has got a sense of vision and purpose. So they are to be congratulated. Yes, Michael. We can't hear you, Michael. Okay, we'll come back to you, Michael. Yes, so a bit of a disappointing day for UK space, and it's very unlikely Virgin will be able to rise up from the ashes, as it were. But it's not the end, and it should be realised that there is a lot going on with UK space at the moment. We mentioned the deal with Rolls-Royce last week to build these micro-nuclear reactors to power the moon base if and when it gets built. Lots of things going on with UK space, and the Virgin fiasco is just a bit of a setback. That's all. Nothing too much to worry about in terms of UK space. Yes, Bernard.
Yeah, I'd like to know from the panelists' knowledge, is there any other country in Europe at the moment that is within this space race, I'd say, that can actually outcompete the UK?
Germany, Spain, and Norway.
Which ones actually have a launch date planned to cross over the line?
I think here in Spain, Spain's going to launch a satellite within the next month, they say. So this shocked everybody because nobody knew anything about it. But apparently Spain's been working on their own space capability. It's quite a small rocket, but it is going to try launching a satellite. So
Is it from the Canary
No,
Islands?
no,
or
it's from
something like
actually from somewhere in the south of Spain. So,
All right.
So we're looking forward to that.
that? Okay, I'm just checking out
Yeah.
the competition. You know.
Yeah, yeah. There is quite a bit of European competition. Germany, in particular, also. And what was that? Michael, you might remember. Can you talk now, Michael? No, still can't hear you, unfortunately. There is a company. I forget the name of the company in Norway, but they have built a spaceport, and they are angling to become the first European country to launch from their own soil. Britain fluffed the opportunity, obviously, so they're all queuing up now to become the first to do it. And the crowing in the voice of the Spanish Prime Minister when he was talking about the Spanish effort, lording it over the UK, you could just hear it in his voice. Yeah, so that was quite interesting. Quite fun. But
Can you hear me now, Andy?
yes, that's better, Michael. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say about Spaceport Cornwall.
Yeah.
They're calling themselves a space hub now down there, aren't they?
They are.
They're getting together. They're quite a number of companies to move down there and so forth, and creating lots of jobs. So that there is activity. Whether there'll be any more launches, we don't know yet. So
no, I believe they certainly haven't got any schedule, but the interest is there from a few companies. So,
and I would presume that the people who unfortunately have been laid off there might potentially be able to kickstart something or whatever. There's some talent there that's ready to be used.
Well, Virgin say that Virgin are doing two things. Firstly, Virgin have said they are actively looking for jobs in the space sector for everybody that they've laid off, and which is great because at least they're doing that for them. But on the other hand, I was reading that they were also preparing a golden parachute package for their top execs. So regardless, they will get paid lots and lots of money for failure. But that's the way the corporate world works, of course. So,
are they going to launch him at high altitude for his parachute to open
if
up,
they're gold, they'll sink really, really quickly as well. So, would like to be under.
Andy, do you know what will happen to Launcher One itself? Will that be?
Well, we can make them an offer if you like, Michael. We can all club together here, put our hands in our pockets, and if you want it, you can have it for your back garden. It's only 20 feet long. I mean, it'll fit, surely. I've no idea. It's a dead technology now.
Yeah.
Anyway. Nobody will want to take one.
You have to
probably
be
end up in the Science Museum.
You have to be waiting in that day, Michael. There'll be a knock at the door, so you'll have to be in on that. Fill it with your neighbour.
Okay. All right then. Let's move on to something that Paul asked about earlier, and that is, of course, the selection of the astronauts for the Artemis 2 mission. And the Artemis 2 mission is going to take off next year, and these 4 astronauts will be the lucky ones who've won the lottery at NASA, who will be flying around the moon. Notice, not on the moon. They are going to be flying around the moon to test the life support systems of the Orion spacecraft and then return to the Earth. Those of you of an older disposition might remember that Apollo 8 did exactly the same job before the moon landings, and this is exactly the type of mission they'll be flying. Michael, would you like to introduce these people to us?
Yes, okay, just bear with me a second. We have Commander Reed Wiseman from NASA.
This is going left to right, is it?
Hold on a second, let me make sure I've got the no, I'll get the right, that's right.
Yeah.
Pilot Victor Glover,
mm-hmm.
Who was recently went on a space expedition to the space station. Christina Cook, who is mission specialist one. She took part of the first all-female spacewalk in the ISS a couple of years ago. And Canadian Jeremy Hansen will be mission specialist number 2. and this will be his first spaceflight, I believe. And Canada have a seat on Artemis 2 because of their involvement in Artemis, in that they are building Canadarm3 for the Gateway space station. You'll remember they built the original Canadarm for the shuttle, which got them seats on the shuttle flights.
Yes.
Then they built the Canadarm for the space station, which got them stints on the space station as well. And now the same thing, just carrying on with Gateway. So Canada will be up there on Artemis 2. Unfortunately, no one from the European Space Agency on Artemis just yet, which is a shame. But hopefully in the future.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much indeed. Wonderful. So these people have been chosen by NASA to go on Artemis 2. It's happening next year. I don't think we've got a date more specific than that at the moment, have we?
No, I would say late next year, and it could be pushed into 25 as well.
Right, yes.
Usual delays.
So anyway, so you can expect to hear a lot more about these astronauts as we approach the launch of Artemis 2. Artemis as a program is going ahead, and Artemis 1 proved that the SLS, the giant rocket, works, and that the Orion spacecraft seem to work. But of course, there's a lot more testing to do before people finally set foot on the moon. And if the schedule goes well, around 2025, if all goes to plan. We saw last week that incredible terrain at the lunar South Pole that has been targeted for the first human landings in 50 years. And it should be quite amazing. SpaceX's Starship, of course, will be the vehicle that delivers the astronauts to the lunar surface. And development of that is coming on apace, although we haven't seen anything yet. It's still very much under wraps, but apparently its development of the lunar version of the Starship is going very well indeed. So we shall look forward to seeing that nearer the time. Okay, let's move over now. Rachel, have we got much of a gallery for this week?
We have a small and neat gallery this week.
Oh, we're perfectly formed, eh?
Of course.
Okay.
It's always a quality,
It
not
is.
quantity.
And I'm
Right?
still a little bit croaky, so you'll have to bear with me. But we start off with another regular from Jerry of the Cygnus Wall, using his usual setup. And again, always a really lovely, interesting colour palette from Jerry.
Oh, wow.
So this is a really zoomed in section of the North American nebula. Which is,
That's beautiful. I love the palette.
It is, isn't it?
Lovely.
I love the purples.
Yeah.
it's very nice. We've got quite a few interesting colour palettes tonight, actually, which is nice to see. We've got another one by Jerry. So we've got the Whirlpool Galaxy M51.
Always a fantastic target, of course.
Yeah, and the star colours are really pretty on this one as well.
Oh, that is nice. Well done, Jerry. That's lovely.
It has a milky texture to it. I like it very much.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. It's such a pretty galaxy as well, but it's captured really well, so lovely job.
You could call it the Milky Way.
Well, absolutely. Yes.
That was first identified from Ireland.
I wonder if we look as pretty as that.
Beautiful.
Then we've got a really interesting take on M42 by Chris, which he says this is only an hour's worth of data as well, which is mind-blowing, between clouds in December, so he thought he'd have some fun. And he changed the usual Hubble palette to an SHO. So obviously he's swapped around the usual Hubble palette. So the oxygen would be obviously coloured green,
Right.
and the hydrogen would be blue instead. So he swapped those around and got this really...
Oh, that is striking.
Yeah, it's really Halloween-y to me. I don't know why it feels really...
That's
something you'd find in a physics lab at school in a conical flask.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well done. That's lovely.
Yeah, it's really different. So
Yeah.
thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
And then Chris has come in again with the comet, obviously the recent comet, and he said it's his first ever comet as well, so he had a terrible time trying to process it. And he doesn't have the patience to wait another 50,000 years to get more data, so he thought he'd just go with what he had.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is nice. And then I think we're finishing off with a wide field shot from Lee. And he's had a get the Milky Way from Cornwall. I like the way he's written his piece. It's like he wants me to read it in a Yorkshire accent. I had to take this through bedroom window as I woke up to see the Milky Way and couldn't rush outside because no one wants to see me in my string vest and Y fronts, even at this time in the morning.
No, I know the feeling, mate. Know the feeling.
So thank you for not attaching the picture of you with that, Lee.
Yeah.
But yeah, really lovely Milky Way gal. I didn't even think it was that visible like that at the minute, but
Yeah.
shows it can be done.
Yeah, can be done. Yeah, absolutely. Right, well,
And that image of Lee and his Y fronts is what we will end on.
Okay. Yeah, such images now. Okay, thank you very much, Rachel.
Other images are available.
Okay, Jonathan, what have you got for us this week?
Yes, good evening from the NeoWatch desk. Now, you may recall from last week's NeoWatch, asteroid 2023 DZ2 that passed us safely on Saturday, March the 25th. Came in at around about 109,000 miles at closest approach. Now, since then, 2023 FL2, considerably smaller, has passed us. This was the one that raised all the armadillo questions about how many armadillos would exactly the size of it and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That was, yeah, that one exactly. That was followed by 2023 FW2, then FZ2, and then DX2. So we had 5 sizable objects passing us, the last one going by on Monday, March 27th. I've had several more since then. Indeed, today, 2023 FU6, a 14-meter asteroid has passed us. Now, NASA have avoided using armadillos and various other animals, elephants, whatever, as a sort of a size monitor for these things going by.
Getting a bit silly, really, hasn't it? Let's face it.
It is absolutely ridiculous, and why they chose armadillos, I really don't know. But NASA have gone with a more acceptable bracket. They've gone with it's a house size, airplane size, Statue of Liberty size, that sort of thing.
That's more like.
Yeah, we can understand that rather than Ladybird. So FU6, it was a 14-meter. That's gone by today, house size, as NASA classed it. And then we had FS11, slightly larger than that, a 25-meter airplane size. They both passed us today. And like I've been saying since NeoWatch was resurrected here on Space Oddities, it just goes to show exactly the sort of traffic that we're seeing passing and the way in which we're able to monitor these things at the moment. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. Interesting piece of news popped up when I was searching for this evening. I don't know how much of you have picked up on this, but we've got a Japanese company. It's restarting its efforts to create artificial meteor showers. I don't know if anybody knows about this.
I saw something about this, yes.
Yeah, it's Tokyo-based ALE, their Astro Live Experiences. Now, they've been planning to create these artificial shooting stars since about 2020 from its own satellite, the ALE-2, but technical problems prevented that, and I would have thought off the record good is probably the sort of word you want to come up with. But the company has been promising to make these meteors available. They're for big events, with the meteors providing in their release, in a press release, critical climate research along with entertainment. So to justify exactly what they're doing, providing these displays for the events, they've been saying, well as that, we are in fact conducting critical climate research. Now, according to their plan, these pellets are made from harmless substances, whatever they are, and they will be shot out of the satellite and then burn up at 37 to 50 miles above the Earth's surface. Now, they're trying to get it all funded, funding crowd. They're trying to get backers to actually back what they're trying to do. As far as I can see, it's it's a little bit. I wouldn't even say it's a nice idea. It's just something else really to hinder proper science and astronomy. So it may well go ahead, but it looks like they're very determined to do what they're doing. It's been 3 years down the line and they're still having to crack at it, but they need serious investment in order to get that off the ground. So we'll have to wait and see that. This week's NEO figures, near Earth object figures, courtesy of the European Space Agency, as of yesterday. The website's been down a while for the ESA at the moment, but the current total of near Earth asteroids, they come in at 31,620, of which 1,462 are in the risk list at the moment, and the current near-Earth comets, that remains stable at 120, and current known asteroids with good orbital information, and there's quite a lot of them. It's 1,167,314 with good information, which makes it's a case of not sneezing on your monitor when you're tracking all these all these objects, because you're going to miss something. It's a bit of a I would have thought air traffic control nightmare watching all those, but at least they're logged, at least they're catalogued, and at least we've got an eye on them. So yeah, that completes all the news from the NEO Watch desk for this evening.
Fantastic.
That's a lot of NEOs. Should I plan on attending my dinner party this weekend?
It'll be the one that we don't see.
Yeah,
and it'll be
that's true.
These ones attract, and we feel happy and safe that they're in the bag, and we've got this orbital information. But it's the other million or so that's the problem. But one by one, like a good Sherlock Holmes detective movie, we are picking them off until we get just left down to a few suspects in the room.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll just pencil it in then.
Yeah, I would.
Yes, please.
Live dangerously, Lou. You're only alive once. You're a long time dead. So, yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Jonathan, thank you so much for that. And we look forward to hearing some more news next week, obviously. Now, I said at the beginning of the program, we're going to try a little experiment, and if it works, we'll do it regularly on a regular basis, or maybe all the time. Who knows? If you have any questions that you would like to ask anybody on the panel, put them in the chat now, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. If you have any questions about anything astronomy or space related, let's see if we have any. And now is the time to put them in the chat.
We did have one earlier in the show.
Oh, I must have missed that one. What was that?
Someone was asking if our panel thinks we will discover life outside of the Earth in the forget what time frame he said, the next year or
within our lifetime.
Within our lifetime. Okay.
Right. Well, I.
Lou did.
Go on, Bernard.
No, I was going to say, I think Lou is probably very well placed to answer that question.
Yeah. What do you think, Lou?
Well, let's see. I can tell you that Jim Green, who up until January was the NASA chief scientist and a planetary scientist himself, used to be head of the planetary science division at NASA headquarters, he believed that the Mars sample return missions, which I guess are in 3 years, something like that, to pick up the canisters that have been left on the Martian surface, bring them back for analysis, that we will discover evidence of either current or fossilized life in the dirt that's left in those canisters. And I think I agree. We may have already discovered it, of course. You recall that the Viking gas chromatograph and labeled release experiments were inconclusive as they looked for microbial life in the soil on Mars, and their PIs, their principal investigators, the lead people on those two instruments, still have maintained that they in fact did find evidence for life. So
right,
my vote is yes.
I think we would stand a good chance if we were to return to the outer solar system, in particular Enceladus and Europa, and the neither JUICE nor the Europa Clipper, unfortunately, are going to answer that question definitively. I don't think we may get some indications of possible environments for life there, but I don't think either of them will answer the question. We need to get down on the surface, I think, and paddle around in the icy slush, and well, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? And and similarly with Enceladus, until we can actually get down to the surface, I don't think we're going to be able to answer the question. I'm optimistic that life will be discovered somewhere in the solar system, either on Mars or in on one of the moons of Jupiter or Saturn or other planets. But I don't think I will see it happen in my lifetime. So there you are. Anybody else?
I just like to add that I completely agree with Lou and Andy here. Either we're going to find it on Mars or we're going to find it in the ocean worlds. And the only thing that's stopping us really is just the timelines of launching these missions and acquiring it, but also coming back with the data and then crunching the data, and then such an event for such an amazing discovery would require a significant amount of years of cross-checking and making sure that everything is fine. So within my daughter's lifetime, most certainly, but within my lifetime, I don't know, because there's so many things that will take a lot of time. And I just wanted to piggyback on this question, and I know this type of question has been asked before, but where will we discover life first? Is it going to be through the study of exoplanets or through the study of our planetary bodies in our solar system? And I think there's an interesting race going on there. And who's going to get there first, right?
Yeah.
If there ever is life out there. There we go. I'm going to shut up.
Okay, Paul, have you got any thoughts on this? Can't hear you, Paul, for some reason.
Well, I'll step in at this.
That's it.
We're waiting for Paul.
Sorry, yes. Okay, I'm back.
I've got him. There you are.
Yeah. What do I think? One of the things that I believe in terms of the timescales of how we'll sort of explore places and whatever is that going out to Mars, which is kind of billed as the next step after Artemis's return to the moon, is very, very much harder than going to the moon. A lot harder. And I don't really expect to see a Mars mission in my lifetime, unless I live a very long. But because going to the moon takes 3 days, and however you do it now, going to Mars takes 6 months. And when you get to Mars, it's got a third gravity, not a sixth gravity. So, someone who's been in a spacecraft for 6 months will not be getting out and doing anything useful on Mars. They just won't. They'll be in no condition to do so. The radiation problem is a big one, because a bit of metal, that thick between you and solar radiation is fine for 3 days, but it's not for 6 months. And the other one, and the Russians have done some work on this actually, is that having people living in the sort of space that modern technology could provide them with, going from here to Mars in 6 months without actually going nuts is difficult. The experiments the Russians did with, I think it's 520 days they locked people in a pretend spacecraft for, and they came out mentally very damaged and whatever. So I think I don't mean to be pessimistic, because I'm generally not, but looking at all the difficulties it's going to take, there's ways of doing it, I'm sure there are, but going, getting people further away is difficult. So I think our best bet is robotic craft still for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve says, if life is to be found in every condition on Earth, then presumably if it were ever on Mars, then Perseverance would already have encountered it. Well, not necessarily, because we don't know what sort of environments existed on Mars exactly, and presumably it would only be found in the past watery environments. because unlike the Earth, Mars was not covered completely with water, and of course the Earth isn't covered completely with water, but you can find it everywhere on the Earth. But that's probably not the case with Mars, so we don't really know actually.
The other thing about the surface of Mars is that it's being bathed in cosmic rays.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember what the depth is, but it's something like from centimeters to a meter. That top level of soil perhaps is sterile, but below that, and we know there are subsurface aquifers, perhaps we would have a better chance of finding life below the surface.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's an interesting question, because as we carry on discovering more extremophile life forms on Earth, continuously pushing the boundary, of course, Earth and Mars are not analogs, but at some point, the environment, as you said, Lou, subsurface of Mars, will be able to overlap with some of the environments where we find this extremophile lives, and at that point, who knows, right?
Absolutely. Right, got a question here from Stan. Thank you, Stan. And Stan says, how does Roger and others get the mineral moon? Are you using filters, or does it happen in post-processing? Roger.
Well, it's like this. I get most of the colours coming out in Photoshop, in the Adobe Camera RAW filter. And I could probably do a little 5-minute slot on that at some point to give some people a hint.
Absolutely. Yes, we'd love to see you do that, Roger. Roger has been talking for a while about doing some basic astrophotography. So let this be a spur to you, Roger.
Yes.
So yes, then if you could, that'd be fantastic.
All right.
Thank you. Absolutely. And there's a related question, actually, from Graham. Hello, Graham. How are you? Graham says, how do you put colours in the astropics? All this palette talk. I've only recently realised that I can't fly a spaceship to a point in space and see things the way these pics make them look. So how is it all done, basically, Roger, on a basic level?
That's more for Rachel to do, because
okay.
it's more linked to using a mono camera with the hydrogen, sulfur, and oxygen filters to give the designated Hubble palette or SHO, depending on which way you want to do it, and then just mixing up each of the filters and assign it to the red, green, and the blue.
Okay. Well, Graham, if you hang on to that question, when Rachel's had to disappear off, but hang on to that question and please put it in the chat again next week, and we'll ask Rachel, because she really does know about palettes and things like that. To me, a palette is a wooden thing you stack boxes on, but so I wouldn't have a clue. But please do ask that question next week. Okay. So anyway, any more questions down here? Any more questions? Alan makes a point. Alan says, did you get the images of Europa that appear to show rolling boulders and landslides caused possibly by a pressure wave from the large iceberg moving due to thermal currents in the subsurface ocean? I didn't see that one. Bernard or Lou, do you know anything about that one?
No, I'm very skeptical whether we would actually see such movements.
I have seen things like this in, it's not called Barrow anymore, but in the Arctic Ocean in Barrow, Alaska, they have sea ice ridges. You can go out 2 or 3 miles in the Arctic Ocean. It's all frozen on jet skis or whatever they have, and you see these huge pieces of ice that come together and then just push up. So I don't think it's impossible, but the ice sheets on Europa are maybe 100 kilometers thick.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
So
who knows?
that would tend to.
Yeah. But anyway, we will investigate, Alan, and we will let you know next week, basically. So make sure you're here next week, and if we find anything out about that, we will investigate and tell you what we think.
Alan mentions that he sent the image to us last week. So we need to check it out.
Right. In which case, Alan, that's why he said, did you get the images? Right.
We'll check it out.
Check it out, Alan, and we will get back to you next week, definitely. But if that's true, I wouldn't mind seeing those images. So we will definitely have a look. Okay, well, that appears to be all the questions for now. If anybody has any other questions that you think of during the week, make a note of them and you can ask them next week. We'll be doing a Q&A session again next week. And there we are. And I think that just about does it for this evening, does it not, guys? Unless anybody has anything else they want to say. Like to thank Paul Evans for coming back and telling us about astronomy in Irish Astronomy Week. Thank you so much for being here, Paul. You are welcome back. Just drop in anytime. You've got the link.
Yep, good to be here, Andy, and good to see you all, guys.
Thank you. Good to see you too, Paul. Take care of yourself.
Okay.
And thanks to everybody on the panel. My thanks to Roger, to Michael, to Lou, to Bernard, and of course to Jonathan, who will be giving us more NEO watches next week. And there we are. Okay, and thank you to our sponsor, Rother Valley Optics. Just say that before we close. Thanks, guys, for supporting us. Thanks to those of you who have bought us a coffee this evening. Much appreciated, your generosity, as always. Roger's showing off his Moon Hour mug, which I'm sure he'll tell you all about at some point. So from all of us at Space Oddities, have a fantastic week. Happy Easter to all of you. Don't eat too many Easter eggs. And we will see you, even though it's Easter Monday next week, guys. I hope everybody going to be making it back for Easter Monday?
No worries.
Okay.
I won't be able to.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you the week after then. All right then. Thank you very much for being with us, viewers. Your attention is much appreciated, and your support as ever. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Your likes and subscriptions are very important to us. So if you could do that for us, we'd be very, very grateful. Because it enables the infamous YouTube algorithm to notice us more and promote our videos more. The more likes and comments as well after the event, comments in the YouTube comments. Just if you want to leave a comment, just say I liked it or I hated it or whatever you want to put. YouTube doesn't look at the content of the comments; it just looks at the number of comments we get, and the more comments we get. Not in the live chat here, but tomorrow, say when this video will be published by YouTube, if you could just leave some sort of a comment in the chat, that'd be great, because that helps us as well. And the more of those we get, the more we get recommended, and the more people get to watch Space Oddities, which of course should be made compulsory for everybody over 18. So there we are. All right then, guys. Hope to see you soon. Well, we will see you. I'll be back here next Easter Monday as well. Even if nobody else will, but I think we'll be here. So there we are. Have a fantastic week, and from everybody at Space Oddities, we'd all just like to say goodbye and thank you very much. Take care, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.